This next section, we're going to discover one of my personal favourites when it comes to creative thinking. Here we're talking about a true creative genius. I'm sure that you are well aware of Leonardo DaVinci. He's one of the true Renaissance men. Not only was he an accomplished painter, a sculptor, architect and inventor. Well, the list does really go on. It puts us all to shame. Because the thing is, he was truly a creative genius. His inventions predated our capabilities by hundreds of years. He developed prototypes of helicopters, bicycles and more. But beyond that, one of his most famous pieces of work is the Mona Lisa. It's only a small painting, at less than 3 foot by 2 foot, and compared to some paintings, it's completely insignificant in size. But in the last 500 years since it was created, it has had the greatest impact of almost any other portrait before or since. Now, I believe that some of this fame comes from the mystery of just who is the painting of. Just as now we have fantastical conspiracy theories about moon landings, with many opinions and no concrete final answer, the same has been true for centuries about the Mona Lisa. As well as inventing and creating masterpieces, Leonardo liked to hone his craft by simply having a bit of fun. There is a small collection of little-known pictures by Leonardo called his grotesques. These are often small sketches of hideous neighbours and people on the street. Now, it's commonly believed that one of the ways he created these were with a simple invention he called his idea box. But let's get back to Mona for a second, or as some people like to call her, Lisa Giardini. That's because it's one popular belief that Mona Lisa is no other than the wife of wealthy textile merchant Francesco del Gioconda. And in fact, in some parts of Italy, the painting is actually referred to as the Gioconda. Now, this painting here is one of Lisa Giardini. It wasn't painted by Leonardo da Vinci, but one of his apprentices. And you really do have to admit that there is a similarity and resemblance there. Others have come up with the proposal that in fact, the Mona Lisa is a very bizarre self-portrait. Many comparisons have been made between the Mona Lisa and self-portraits, and you can find evidence of this online. And in fact, that's a great place to start. If you do want to know any more about either of those theories or any of the others that are out there, simply Google it and you will really be kept busy for hours. Now, while everyone has an opinion and a belief, mine is that the Mona Lisa was the result of an idea box. People often say how enigmatic and beautiful the painting is. And in fact, it is really only in the flesh, when you're face to face, so to speak, that you can become truly mesmerised by its beauty. And that could be because Leonardo chose only the most attractive features, and then he combined them into one painting. Now, I personally don't have the talent of Leonardo da Vinci, so I could never draw the Mona Lisa. Not in any quality way, at least. But you know what? I can draw a pretty good monster, and I'm pretty sure that you can too. Especially if you follow my official introduction to the idea box. So here we have a box. It's made up of 5 columns and 9 rows. On the top we have the 5 headings. Each one covers a main facial feature that we're going to work with. So we have the head, the eyes, the nose, the lips and the chin. Now from here we choose a list of features that on their own would not be classed as ugly or grotesque. And in fact, on their own, they would probably add character or even beauty to a face. But combine the 5 together, now that's a different story. So first off, we choose a shape for the head. Beginning with bullet, which is all pointy at the top. We have skeletal, all drawn. We go dome-like with a big rounded top. And beetle brow with a huge forehead. Bell shape going out at the bottom, an egg shape just like a walking Easter egg, and finally we're all furrowed and pinched. Next we move on to the eyes. Now, what happens when you watch too much video on the internet? You get goggle-eyed. Too many late nights, or in the morning, you often end up with sunken eyes. Too much sleep, on the other hand, and you end up with bulging eyes. Maybe you need sunglasses because you have squinty eyes. Are you a shifty character with beady eyes? Then you can have slanty eyes, or they can be all swollen and puffy. And finally, too much partying will just leave you with red eye. Now onto the nose, and we start with a large protruding parrot beak, then onto a classic pirate hooked nose, a boxer's thick and snub-like bulldog nose, then long and thin like a beak. Next is tall and sausage-like with a cigar shape, all over the place with lumpy, and then really wide and smashed across your face with broad, and finally all gnarled up and fibrous. Now we come to the lips, starting with a tight and small pinched lips, then thin on top with hair-lipped, and barely there top and bottom with wafer thin. A classic sad dog expression with drooping, really exaggerated and full with blubber. Super shaped with bow-like, full and strung with beefy, and all mangled with twisted. And finally, the chin. We'll start with the classic, which affects most of us over 25, and that's a double chin. Then the look of shock with a slack jaw, solid and square with a Latin jaw. Then we get really old. We may start to get a sagging jaw. To some it's handsome when correct, but if you get angular wrong, it can be really strange and off at a tangent. Then we have the thick and full chunky chin. And then the version that enters the room before you do, with projecting. And finally, the one that enters the room after you, with receding. So now let's have a look at a classic Da Vinci picture. Here we have a furrowed brow, with sunken eyes and a thick snub nose, along with a drooping mouth and a receding chin. What do you think it will look like? How about this? Now let's take a minute or less and create our own grotesque. And really, you don't need anywhere near the talent of Da Vinci to pull this off, as you'll soon see. Because here comes my example that I did in only about 30 seconds. So I chose a dome-like head. I gave it squinty eyes and a lumpy nose, a hair lip and a projecting jaw. And this is what I came up with. So how about you? How did you get on? So I like to think that what Da Vinci did, as I've already said, was take the most beautiful characteristics of the women that he saw around him every day. From that, he put together his own idea box. And from that, he was able to create the true, beautiful enigma. But that's my opinion.